Bengal tiger. Solitary, nocturnal predator. Dislikes excessive heat, so lazes in water to keep cool. Lifespan, 15 years. The African elephant, the largest and most powerful of the land mammals, lives in complex family groups, can cover 80 kilometers a day. Lifespan, about 70 years. Is the zoo really any place to keep animals such as these? Should we really be keeping wild animals in captivity just for our entertainment? What quality of life can we hope to offer them? And in reality, what life do they actually get? Space rarely, if ever, matches the animal's natural range, and more commonly is reduced instead to virtually nothing. Animals which left to themselves would roam for tens of miles a day, tread the same few paces daily. Some of the fastest animals on earth live in pens so small they could not gather pace to a trot, let alone full speed. Birds are virtually stripped of their most precious gift, flight, often able to do little more than flutter their wings. Birds of prey do not soar but perch and vegetate. Consequently, large birds like vultures and pelicans in zoos are prone to bone disease. And for 15 hours a day, many animals may be shut away in their night quarters with even less room to move. But it is not just a matter of space. It is also the quality of the environment. Wild rhinos do not restrict themselves to the same territory and may travel for 12 kilometers or more a day. For these captive rhinos, their zoo enclosure is probably about as good as it gets. But in reality, what is there for the rhinos? They are short-sighted, and so stimulation in their world relies heavily on smell. The view of the main road is probably lost on them. Reptiles need complex thermal ranges, variation in humidity, special phases of light, and other factors which may seem difficult for us to appreciate as humans. And these, our closest relatives in the animal kingdom, exchange the infinite possibilities of the forest for little more than playground climbing frames. How long would these keep a 5-year-old child amused? Hours? Certainly not days or years. And what of social interaction with their own species? The elephant, whose herd and social structure are so important, imprisoned alone. Animals which might cross the plains in vast numbers would be lucky to find companionship in double figures. Some animals may find solace, only to have their world torn apart when cage mates are sold. And the solitary and the shy, or the creatures of the night, will not spend a day away from prying eyes. Even some zoos are starting to admit that certain animals, like polar bears, simply shouldn't be there at all. This bear's companion died, leaving her alone. Her natural territory of hundreds of miles reduced to what you can see, an ice floe painted on the wall, and the rocks painted white. Little wonder she's going out of her mind. Inevitably, frustration and boredom are commonplace amongst zoo animals and lead to obsessive and repetitive behaviors in the form of pacing, swaying, even self-mutilation. This is known as stereotypic behavior, and such pointless, repetitive movements have also been noted in mentally ill people. With nothing to do, these zoo animals become psychotic. Caged animals will often pace the same path again and again, their plodding step not faltering, crushing vegetation to leave a neat track, showing the course they will walk for the rest of their lives. Great apes and elephants will rock, sway, or shift repeatedly from side to side. Other disturbed behavior may include licking the walls and chewing the bars of their pens. Abnormal behavior in reptiles may manifest itself as climbing or scratching at their glass tanks because they don't understand why they can't get out. Other reptiles may become completely sedentary, seemingly sleeping their lives away behind a rock. This animal may be trying to wait out the environment in which it is trapped, but the wait never ends. This poor gorilla is repeatedly eating his own vomit. He eats. He vomits. And he begins to eat again. What a sad, distorted view of nature zoos give us. But what of conservation? In a world where animals and habitat are threatened daily, are zoos not merely providing a refuge for many animals, and indeed safeguarding their future? Conservation has become a zoo industry buzzword, a reason to exist, a defense against any failings, and a highly effective marketing tool. In one survey, most of those questioned were concerned about the welfare of animals in zoos. However, 3/4 believed that many animals avoid extinction by being there. Over half said they would not visit a zoo if they knew that it had little impact on conservation. Let's look at the facts. In the region of 6,000 species are either threatened or endangered, yet only a handful are in captive breeding programs, and only around 20 have actually been returned to the wild with any degree of success. Out of an estimated 10,000 zoos worldwide, less than 500 register their animals on an international species database, and even in these, it is estimated that only between 5 and 10% of the space is devoted to endangered species. Most animals in zoos, including the African lions, elephants, giraffes, are not threatened. They are simply exhibits. And look at the way they keep those precious, rare species whose very future they claim to hold in their hands. These highly endangered snow leopards have never bred successfully. And these have a Big Dipper hurtling past every 4 minutes. Even if zoos were working as hard for conservation as their publicity material would have you believe, the very nature of most would doom their efforts to failure. Captive breeding projects need to be as close as possible to the ultimate release site, certainly in terms of climate, habitat and fauna. The animals need space appropriate to their needs and populations large enough to provide a suitable gene pool and a natural social balance of the species, with human contact minimized. Do zoos and safari parks meet any of the criteria necessary to make a success of their self-appointed task? Solitary or small groups of animals, often in the most unnatural of habitats, always on show to a noisy,